Good morning, everyone. My name is Ifeanyiwa Ugochukwu, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. I'd like to welcome you all to a very special weekly Monday master class. And it's special because it's brought to you by the Tony Elumelu Foundation, as well as a Project Management Institute. And this is the inaugural session of a 6-part series. We will be exploring today the entrepreneurship perspective of project management. So that's really looking at project management from the lens of entrepreneurship. The title of today's masterclass is Project Management for SMEs, Ideas to Reality. On this session with me today, let me welcome Sunil Prashara, who is the Global CEO of Project Management Institute. Stephen Townsend, he is the Director, PMI Knowledge Networks. And Otema Yurienki, she is the MD for Africa, Project Management Institute. Before we start, do remember that time permitting, we will be taking questions. So please send in your questions to our Twitter handle, that's at Tony Elumelu FDN, as well as the YouTube channel through the live chat box. As you know already, this sessions will have a learning certificate attached to it at the end of the series. You will only be eligible to receive the learning certificate if you register and attend all 6 sessions. Let me just emphasize how excited I am about the partnership with Project Management Institute, which we recently signed. For those of you who may not know, PMI is over 50 years old and is an organization that has regularized project management as a profession, over 3 million professionals in their networks and 500,000 global members. This partnership that Tony Elumelu Foundation is bringing will bring to the young African entrepreneurs immense training and capacity building for project management. But most importantly, it will also give us access, give young African entrepreneurs access to competent, committed, and multilingual mentors across the globe. So Sunil, over to you. Tell us more.
Ifeanyiwa, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and your community. It's a real privilege. Let me tell you a little bit about the Project Management Institute. First of all, as you mentioned, there are 3 million people that interact with the Project Management Institute. We have about 600,000 members and about 1.6 million certifications. Our community is huge. We also operate with and work with a lot of organizations as well. A little bit about me, very, very quickly. I'm with the Institute now for just over a year and a half. I was born in Africa, so I'm born in Kenya myself, actually. So I have a real soft spot for the whole continent. And I'm really, really proud to be involved in such an initiative with yourselves. So if we just go quickly to the next slide, let me just tell you a little bit about the Project Management Institute before I hand over to Steve. So one of the key things that we see in the world right now, especially with COVID and some of the challenges that we face at a macro level, we see this thing called the project economy emerging. There are 3 key components of that, and Steve will go through this in some detail, but 3 key components of project management and work for the future that we're seeing is a huge emphasis on people. We believe the whole world is becoming very projectified. And what we mean by that is everything that's happening in terms of work-related activities is largely attributable to becoming a project in some way, shape, or form. And also we're seeing this huge movement across the globe to address some of the major challenges that the planet is facing. So we call it People, Projects, and Planet. It underpins the project economy. And that's a little bit about sort of like our strategy of we as an organization, what we're trying to do. If you move to the next slide very quickly, I want to focus my short conversation now on the key component of the project economy, which is empowering people, empowering your community to make sure that they've got the right skill sets to turn their ideas, their business ideas, their entrepreneurial, vision into a reality. How do you actually make that happen? How can you minimize the risks associated with starting a business from scratch and some of the challenges that you have to face as a startup? And how can we at PMI help you make sure that you are successful in that? So I think today's session will really focus on that, enabling you as an individual to make sure that you've got the right skill sets to make sure that you get the best chance to become successful in your venture. If you flip over to the next slide, why do I feel that we have the skill sets to be able to do this? As you mentioned, 50-year-old organization. We're a global organization. We have chapters all over the world. A chapter is basically the operating unit that we have in each of in various different countries. And we're in 208 countries around the world. We have 600,000 members who work with us on a regular basis, and we've certified well over, coming up to 1.7 million certifications in different forms of project management. A big part of our community is the volunteers. We have an army of volunteers, 12,000 volunteers, the subject matter experts in project management, in turning ideas into reality, that support us and work with us across the globe. And we have a number of those in Africa. I have a slide on Africa in a minute. A key component is also that we work with a lot of institutions and we get the best practices from those institutions, and we make sure that all of our members and the certification holders are enabled in those best practices. Over 200, in fact, it's about 400 companies when you include China and you include Latin America as well. What do we actually do? We provide training, we provide mentorship, we provide best practices, we provide accreditations, certifications, we upskill people so that they have the right skills that they need to be able to get their jobs done. So in principle, that's what we do around the world, bringing best practices from all over the world together in one place so that people can tap into that resource. If you go to the next slide very quickly. Okay, so the other thing that is worthy noting is that we're not just focused on people from the age of 20 to the age of 40 or 45. We actually start very early on, and we have a foundation that's called the Education Foundation, which really focuses on children. We believe that project management skills are life skills. They're skills that you learn at a very early age in your life, and then you build on those skills. You learn them how to deal with your stakeholders. Your parents are stakeholders, right? So you learn how to deal with your parents and your next door neighbor, etc., from a very, very early age. And the Project Management Institute introduces young children who may not have the opportunities to these project management skills at a very, very early age. And then we pick it up there and what you see in those circles there are the different certifications. And we basically want to be responsible for helping individuals throughout their entire life cycle. The single point of a place to go to help you convert your dreams and ideas into a reality, regardless of age. We call it 5 to 75. You'll see in the top right-hand corner there, this thing called Brightline. Brightline is all about strategy. So that's dealing with the chief strategy officer. If you're starting your own business, not only are you the CEO, but you're also the chief strategy officer. You're also the janitor. You're everything because you're starting your business from scratch. So our framework here will lend itself very nicely to the challenges that you may have at the start of the business, whether you're a chief strategy officer today and tomorrow you're going to be the CEO and the next day you're going to be the finance guy, all in the space of a week. We should be able to help you with the right skill sets and with the people around the world who can tap into and support you from a mentorship perspective. If you just zip to the next slide very quickly. Okay, so these are some of the companies that we work with, and our relationships with some of these companies go back almost 50 years. I mean, we've been around for 50 years. So IBM, has been a great, not only a sponsor, but also a great advocate for project management. Much of the work that IBM does and some of the software companies and the services companies are reliant on project management as a core capability in their organization. So they have tremendous learning. And now you also see quite a lot of technical companies, Microsofts, the Googles, the Amazons, also now becoming part of our community. We collaborate with these companies, we get best practices. We even work with these companies to enable their individual employees and their employees share with us some of their best practices, which we can introduce into our mentoring program for the TEF organization. So it's an extra angle beyond our community that we can tap into to support. If you go to the next slide. Very good. So do we see this as important? This is a slide from McKinsey. I love this slide because it shows three things. It shows, first of all, the importance of project management. It's a very recent slide, 2020 slide. And it's some of the skill sets that you need to be successful in turning ideas into reality. In fact, the most important skill sets that CEOs and CIOs say are relevant for individuals, whether they are working for an organization today or starting their own organization. And that's the first thing. The second thing, it breaks it down into whether it's a cognitive skill, technical skill, or a social skill, depending on the color of the chart. And interestingly, you'll see the top 3, 4 are very much critical thinking, higher cognitive skills and project management. So and then you'll see the technical skills a little bit further down, which is interesting because the world feels that technology is a thing that's driving, projects and driving, which it is, but actually it's the people that are using that technology. It's their skill sets that are making it into a reality. So technology will always develop, it will always grow. There will always be disruptive technologies to support you. But if you as a human cannot integrate and connect all the dots and have the skill sets required to bring all these pieces together to create differentiation, it'll be very difficult for you to have a business that is sustainable for a long term. So it's the people skills actually that are starting to now today become the most important part of a business enterprise today. We flip to the next slide. And again, Steve will go into this in some detail. So what are those human skills? And so this slide here, hopefully Steve will get a chance to go through this, but I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this slide because it's an important slide. When you start your own business, you need to be very gymnastic, and you have the diagram there of a gymnastic. What do I mean by that is you have to go beyond agile, not the agile methodology that people talk about from a project management perspective or a application development, but agile truly in the true sense of the word agile. You have to be super flexible when you start your own business and you're an entrepreneur. You need to be able to pivot. Large organizations today couldn't do this, and that's why they suffered so hard because of COVID and so fast. They were caught. And so now there's this huge movement to have a very agile organization that can pivot very, very fast. When you're a startup organization, you can't be wedded to one process or one capability. Or you chop and change your organization to see what fits for running your organization at that point in time. Of course, you have a vision, and that might be consistent, but you have to try different things, and eventually you'll land on the business that you feel is the right one for you. On the right hand side, you see a set of human skills which we feel are going to be super important, and hopefully the next 6 sessions will really double click on these skills. Cultural awareness is becoming super important as the world is still a global world. It's still operating in a global fashion, and technology is helping that. Regardless of what you're seeing happening politically, etc., it's still a global market out there for you as an entrepreneur. So having a cultural awareness is important. Technical proficiency, you can't ignore it, but it's table stakes. And it doesn't mean you have to be a coder or you have to be specifically deep knowledgeable in technology, but you need to at least appreciate it, have some kind of proficiency in it. Judgment. The 3 that I read, and so you'll see a number there on the right hand side. The 3 I really want to focus on, and I think Steve will go into some more detail, are the 3 that from our research really bubble up to the surface as being the critical skills for an entrepreneur. Collaborative leadership. In this new world where we're going to be working partly remotely, partly together, collaborative leadership becomes critical. It's the ability to be able to work with different people, not command and control, but collaborative leadership, where other people's ideas you can build on and you can contribute to create the vision that you want to have as a business. Empathy for the voice of the customer. How many times have you all heard organizations say, yeah, we put our customer at the center of everything that we do? Now it's a prerequisite. Having a complete empathy for the voice. The customer today can walk, has so much choice on where they want to provide, service, where they want to buy their services from. So much choice that having a complete empathy and understanding of the customer is going to be critical, regardless of whether it's in line with what you want to do or not, whether you're trying to influence them or not. So it's a critical skill set. And then obviously having a digital as well as an innovative mindset. The digital, because the world is becoming much more digital and technically focused. But being able to convert that technical know-how into an innovative, creative way, working in the gray zone, not in the black or the white, but working in a flexible environment is a critical skill set. So hopefully, again, through this course, you will learn a little bit about, these are learnable skills. These aren't things that attributes of people. These are skills that you can learn. And we at PMI will help, your community, to build these skill sets through our mentorship program. And I'm very, very excited about that. So we just could zip to the next slide, the last one before I finish. You know, we're not new in Africa. And I just wanted to land with this slide. We've been here for a while as an organization, and we're already operating in 14 countries around the whole of the African continent. And we're opening up more. We have a massive strategic thrust right now to build our competencies and our position on the African continent. Why are we doing that? Because we really see the tremendous opportunities with the African continent, not only from the fact that there is so much youth here, but also because of the expansion of the population, which means that there's going to be tremendous amount of project work, tremendous amount of opportunity for people living on the African continent, not only to build their own businesses and contribute to the growth in Africa, but also for us to be able to really advocate the world of project management and how it truly can help you convert your ideas into reality. And with that note, let me pass on to Stephen, who's going to double click a lot more on everything. So Afeyo, thank you so much for the opportunity again. I look forward to the next session. And of course, I'll be at the back end. If there's any questions, happy to take those. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope that you find today's session to be stimulating and informative. And I'm going to start out being a little bit provocative. I picked this graphic on purpose because there are a lot of people who go into the concept of being an entrepreneur thinking it's as easy as having an idea, do a little planning, and then undertake some activities to make things work. And often people who take this more simplistic path to driving their business forward are part of the 52% of startup organizations that close within their first 5 years. So we're here today to make sure that you understand how project management can help your organization successfully drive your business goals and objectives now and for the long term. So I'm going to start with the concept of the project economy. I'm going to pick up where Sunil left off with regard to what is the project economy at its core. And it is about having a disciplined approach for driving your strategy forward. And to drive your strategy forward, you need a couple of things. One, you need the capabilities that enable you to deliver value to your customer, to help you understand what they want and what they need, and how to get that to them effectively and efficiently. And two, you need the skills and capabilities within your organization, both in terms of people and in terms of process, to help drive your organization forward. Now, PMI conducts an incredible range of studies exploring different aspects of project management. And we conducted a strategy review about 5 years ago, looking at CEO perspectives in terms of why good strategies don't progress in the way that CEOs expect them. And 61% of the executives noted that there was a gap between the strategy formulation and the actual implementation of strategy within their organizations. And so the project economy is really targeted at filling that gap. And again, I'm going to talk to you about some of the capabilities and some of the skills related to that. This again emphasizes that the project economy is about turning ideas into reality. And in order to do that, you have to marshal the organization around specific goals and objectives to drive that forward. That means that you have to have people with the right skills, and you have to have capabilities that can deliver the type of value that you want to produce for your customers. And it is a lifelong journey. So there is never such a thing as a steady state, because you're always changing in response to your customer. As your business grows, you have to think about how to scale and how to build new capabilities to support that growth. So it is an ever-ending process for the organization as well as for the people who also need to continue to build their skills and their knowledge so that they can remain relevant within your organization. Now, entrepreneurship is all about turning ideas into reality. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What I'm going to do is present some models. I have to make a note that these models are for example purposes only. And the intent is to try to identify some things that help you think about based on how your business model is structured, where project, program, and portfolio management might fit in the context, and where skills and capabilities are really critical for your organization. So what is a capability? A capability is a power to do something. It has to be developed and it can be lost. For example, if you look at Toyota, Toyota taught the entire world about quality, but over time, there was such a focus on increasing efficiencies, reducing cost, that Toyota lost that vision. And so we all know from the situation that evolved with the accelerator pedal and the rug, that Toyota's inability to respond to that defect significantly impacted their reputation, their brand, and their credibility in the marketplace. So capabilities can be developed and you can be best in class, but if you don't continue to build and develop it, it can be lost. And you have to think of your organization as a living system centered around people. So we need structures and process and technology to help us do our work on a daily basis. And when we have these things and when they function effectively, we get the things on the right side. We get value because our people understand what our business is trying to achieve. They understand what the customer wants, and they organize our systems and processes to deliver that. We can track our outcomes and our performance to make sure that we're investing in the right things, that we're delivering the right value for our customer. So we need to develop these core capabilities, and we need to develop them in our people and in our organization. So if we look at some of the entrepreneurship business models, so for example, if you take a small, medium-sized business and say their focus is on being customer-centric. So they want to understand the customer's journey as they're transacting business or engaging with the organization. They also understand that it's important to build quality into the process because your customers want quality products and services, that they want that delivered efficiently and timely, and that you have a variety of stakeholders that you're serving. Now, how do you think about project and program management in this context? Well, if you want a view of the customer experience from start to finish, program management is a good construct for that, because program management looks at how do we maximize the value stream. So it looks at the entire process and places where your customers may turn off and go somewhere else, or places where they're trying to transact business with you and get stuck. Or at the back end, that you're missing an opportunity to sell them other things that they might be interested in. So that program management value stream focus lets you understand the customer journey and opportunities for you to enhance that journey and enhance opportunities for your business, or to remove barriers that prevent them from engaging with your business effectively. And portfolio management, as you're collecting information about what your customers want, about barriers in the process, about opportunities, portfolio management helps you understand and consider, what do we want to do first? Because we have limited resources, we can't do everything at once. So what do we do first? It helps you prioritize your activities and your investments so that you focus on the things that are going to have the most significant impact for the business as a whole. So in the process space, we're really talking about using effective project management skills and techniques. There's a whole body of knowledge around quality. Planning is intended to drive efficiency. You want to measure your performance so that you're making sure that you're delivering in a timely manner. And last but not least, as Sunil mentioned, and we're going to emphasize this throughout the presentation, you have to have staff who have power skills, who really understand the customer, who engage with them, who help to remove barriers and present opportunities that help your business grow and develop. And you need people who are skilled in being able to do that. Now, if you're a scalable startup, you're going to have innovation as your focus. So you're going to be looking at how do we very quickly innovate and change in response to either our customers' needs or market opportunities or what our competitors are doing. So in that space, you might want to use more iterative development practices like Lean, Agile, and Kanban. So Lean, again, helps you look at how do we streamline our processes so that we eliminate activities that may be creating things that don't deliver value to the customer. They're just creating work. You can use agile practices to help you bring the customer into the conversation about how you deliver value. And you can use Kanban so that everyone on the team and everyone in the organization can visualize what work needs to be done, what work is currently in progress, what work has already been completed, and what do we need to put on a parking lot because we have questions about it or we're not sure how to move it forward. And then again, program management can help you as you're beginning to grow your business, because program management is all about driving change and transformation within the organization. So as you begin to grow your business, as you need more people within your organization, as you begin to spread out and build partnerships, program management can help you build the capabilities to more effectively integrate those into the organization in a seamless way. So if we talk about social entrepreneurship, where you're actually looking at how do you help people transform their lives, where you're working hands-on with your customer, again, you're taking a very iterative and incremental approach. And in this instance, you want to be careful because what you do can have a significant impact on a person's life in a positive or negative way. So you definitely want to take small increments and try small pilots to help them explore what might really meet their needs. So in this instance, you might want to use a hybrid approach, which combines some traditional project management practices, risk management, stakeholder engagement, a long-term view towards planning with some agile and iterative work around those small pilots. So let's start small. Let's start with a handful of customers. Let's test the business environment and see that our concept actually works. And then let's build it over time so that it provides our customers with a lot of capability, but it doesn't do it all at once. It grows it over time. And in this particular model, you also have to think about how do we help the customer prepare to use the resources and the capabilities that we're going to give them. We need to deliver training for them. Well, project management can help you as you're doing the pilots, take those learnings and put them into training to help you facilitate helping people embrace the capability that you're going to give them when you're ready to release it. For organizations that view themselves as disruptive innovators, again, very similar to the other elements that we talked about in terms of you're going to probably look at, again, a heavy agile lean focus with Kanban so you can manage the work, with some elements of traditional project management in there as well, particularly when you're looking at either supplier relations or partnerships, et cetera. So there's some stakeholder engagement and logistical information that you need to manage in a more traditional way in this particular environment. And again, you may find that you need people with fit for purpose skills. You may have some people who need to focus on running the business. So your marketing and sales group, for example, needs some basic functionality so that they can move forward. So they may be using more traditional project management practices, whereas the team that's developing your disruptive innovation probably needs more agile skills and capabilities. So you want people who have the right skills to fit what your organization is trying to drive. And then again, for the macro enterprise, you're looking at, again, individuals out in the field trying to drive their business objectives forward. And so again, here you might also try multiple structures. So using a hybrid approach, and again, focusing on how do we utilize project management to help our customers, to help the people whose lives we're trying to transform, adopt and embrace the capabilities that we're helping them deliver. This issue about helping drive the capabilities also applies within your organization. So using project management as you're trying to build new capabilities, for example, as you might not currently use agile techniques, you can use project management to help you plan how to build that within your organization. So starting with training and development and coaching, building then a community of practice where you get your project leaders and staff to share information about their experience using Agile so that everyone in the organization can improve together. So project management can not only help you produce a deliverable, a new product, a new service, it can also help you build capabilities for inside your organization and for helping your customers as well. So we have talked a lot about people powering the project economy, and that's core. So as we're moving and adopting the organization looking towards the future, we're looking at also helping people understand that processes enable people to communicate, to collaborate, to coordinate their work so that they can produce results. So process is not the driver. The project management tools, techniques, and practices help the people organize their work so they can deliver value within the organization. Now, a lot of organizations kind of sort of understand that people are their most important assets, but they often don't understand that it's the knowledge that the people have that's also equally valuable that you can't put a price to. And we notice this most significantly when core people leave the organization. Studies have shown that when people leave an organization, particularly those that are seen as being subject matter experts, they impact not only the work that they were doing, because the organization has to bring somebody new in to do that work, but they also impact the teams and the people in the organization that subject matter expert helped to enable. So it's not just the people and their skills that are critical, it's the knowledge that they gain and that they bring into the organization that's also critical. Now, for your people, we have been saying for the past 10 years that the ways of working are changing constantly, and that our practitioner community needs to keep their skills relevant so that they maintain the pace of change within the organization. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our talent triangle, and we've even had to adapt that in the past 5 years to recognize that digital skills are becoming increasingly important. So it's important that your staff have a commitment to lifelong learning, because everyone needs to remain relevant in a world and a business environment that's constantly changing. And then lastly, people complete individual work, but teams deliver results. And so you need to find ways to ensure that you're enabling teamwork within your organization to function effectively. Again, project management is a team capability with tools, practices, and resources that can help organize work. So if your team has the right skills, if the individual members of your team have the right skills and you enable the teams to function effectively, you're going to have very solid results. Now, these are some of the power skills that Sunil was talking about earlier. And it's not just about having technical skills, understanding risk management, understanding quality management, being able to put together a Gantt chart or a PERT chart or do a performance analysis. It's around understanding how those technical skills enable your team, how it communicates information that's important to the team to help the team make decisions, how the team uses that information to guide their work and to prioritize activities or to make corrections. So if your technical skills are driving elements of communication, collaboration, and engagement, then certainly interpersonal skills and leadership skills are absolutely critical. So that's where cultural awareness is important, because often our teams are working across borders or they're working with individuals outside of our organization who have a different culture within their organization or within the country or region in which they work. They need to develop skills to build collaboration, to make sure that if you're engaged in lively debate within your group, that debate doesn't go down a path that actually impacts the team in a negative way. So you want people who can identify opportunities for negotiation to make sure that everyone can stay aligned and that everybody's voice is being heard. But in addition to that, you also need to understand the purpose of your organization and the strategy of the organization and how things get done in the organization. So your goals and objectives as a project or program manager have to align with the strategic objectives that the organization has. And along the same lines, you want people, again, who have that know-how. How do we get things done in this organization? Who are the go-to people that can help remove my barriers? So these are the power skills that Sunil was talking about that actually help the project environment work and function effectively. Now, as I mentioned, PMI has a talent triangle. This was published about 5 years ago to help guide our certified project management professionals in how to think about their continuing professional development. So again, it has that element of technical project management. It has the focus on leadership and interpersonal skills, and the focus on understanding the business and the strategy of the organization. But recognizing that technology is also becoming a major part of how project work gets done, we also have a digital overlay for using, for example, artificial intelligence in the construct of your project, whether that's as a part of the deliverable or to help your team utilize information more effectively. Understanding data analytics and how they can help if you're in a program in particular. So we talked about maximizing the value stream of the customer experience. So data analytics can help you understand the customer journey and help you identify things that you may not understand are actually barriers for your customers. So having that digital proficiency and being able to use technology to help accelerate results and success within your organization is also important. Now, as I mentioned, capabilities have to be built, enabled, and improved over time. And that's where this organizational project management system comes in. Now, at the Project Management Institute, we often use the word project in two ways. One is a unique endeavor that is within a defined start and end time frame. The other way in which we use the word project is as a holistic term that links strategy. So what is it our business is trying to accomplish, with portfolio management, which looks at what is the business trying to accomplish and where are we going to invest our resources in order to ensure that we can deliver on those objectives. And how do we do that within the confines of the risk tolerance of our organization? So there may be within our organization a very low risk tolerance, which means that if we're a bank, for example, we don't want to risk that we're going to blow all the money that we hold in reserves. We want to be very cautious in our approach in terms of where we invest. But if you intend to be a disruptive innovator, then you have a very high tolerance for risk because you're trying to do something that hasn't been done before. And you're doing that in the context of challenging perhaps existing understandings of how things work in the market. So your portfolio management balances how you move your strategy forward within the construct of this risk tolerance, and your portfolio is where your programs and your projects get chartered. So programs, again, look at how do we produce value across a value stream of multiple integrated, interdependent activities within the organization. And your projects look at we need a specific deliverable or result within a particular time frame. So how do we deliver that? And your projects and your programs tie into operations. So your operations are where the marketing occurs within the organization, where the financial transactions are managed within the organization, where your talent is recruited in the organization. And so your projects and programs transition their outputs into operations so that the business can continue to engage with the customer and ensure that the ultimate benefits and results from the projects and programs are realized. And collectively, all of these drive your strategy forward. So over the next several sessions, we're going to go into more detail into how this organizational project management system helps your organizations deliver value. So that's all for today with regard to this presentation. But as I mentioned, there is much more to come. So we have a 6-part series for you. And the second part is going to look at portfolio management, putting your money where your strategy is. We're going to have a primer that looks at risk and uncertainty, which not only links with portfolio management, but also with how your projects and programs look at risk and move forward. We're going to talk about the project and program delivery capabilities from lean startup and scaling across the organization. We're going to have a session focused specifically on power skills. So what are different power skills for different types of projects and programs? And then we're going to conclude with a focus on how does all of this fit together using a real life case study. So it's going to be a really exciting program, and I hope you stick with us for the entire series. And at that point, I will turn it back over for questions and answers. Thank you again for participating.
Thank you so much, Stephen. That was such an insightful presentation, and so many questions have been coming in, and I don't know how much time we have, but I'll put the first question to Sunil. So Sunil, one of our viewers have asked, how does an early stage entrepreneur adapt its model to ensure continuous learning throughout its business cycle for all team members? And how does this translate into output? You're on mute, Sunil.
Okay, good. So I think that's a great question. I think the first thing is, when you're an entrepreneur and you're in a startup phase, there's a lot of things that you've got to put into action to start with. Like I said earlier, you're basically, if you're a one-man shop to start with, you're doing everything. If you're lucky enough to have some resources to be able to pull some buddies together to start your business, then you have a little bit more of a head start than most. So I think that the first things to do is, when you're starting a business from scratch, is to have a few things, that you can tick the box on. Number one, have you got the right network that's around you? Number two, have you got clarity of purpose? Do you know exactly what your product is going to be? Can you deliver it and fulfill the promise? Can you capture value from it, and can you scale the business? So there are some components that you need to focus some energies on. Those skills that you learn for each one of those components, the networking skills that you need, the ability to execute and deliver, to be able to have the communication, make promises that that you can fulfill, capture value. These are skill sets that you will carry with you throughout your career as an entrepreneur, for sure. And it also means that they're the skill sets that when you start to scale your organization and you look to bring on new people, you're going to look for those core skill sets straight away. As a small startup, as an entrepreneur, you probably don't have the resources to double click on a whole load of frameworks and put a process in place. This process can destroy the nimbleness if you don't do it properly. You have to dip in and dip out. It needs to be in your head that what you want to do, and not worry about putting a spreadsheet together so you can, because the only person who's going to evaluate that spreadsheet is you yourself, because it's your own business, right? So as long as you've got it and you understand the concepts and the principles as a startup, then it's important that you use that. Then as you grow and scale, you can put more industrialization into it. And because you have been through some kind of training or mentorship, that will help you because you'll know what to put into place. So I think in answer to your question, some of the core skills that you learn when you start your business, which are brilliant skills, hang on to those skills. And when you start to scale your business, make sure the people that you bring in are better than you at the skills that that got you there in the first place. I hope that's answering the question in a roundabout way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you. So just mindful of the time, I'm going to move straight to the second question, and that's for Stephen. Stephen, the viewer wants to know, the Kanban methodology sounds very interesting. Please, can you expand on this, and in particular, how it will help my African startup?
So, very good question. As I mentioned, a lot of good quality practices came from Toyota in their experience. And the Kanban board was a way to reduce the fact that certain team members had access to information and certain team members didn't. And so the concept was, if we can have a workroom called an obeya, where everyone in the team can go into the room at all levels, people from outside the organization can come in as well. And on the board, on the walls of the obeya room, are all the elements of the work that's being done, the product that's being developed, information about risk and business plans, so that everyone understands what work needs to be done, what work is currently in progress, what's been completed. and all the information related to the project updated in real time. Because what they found was when everyone doesn't understand what's going on within the project, that creates downtime, and downtime creates inefficiencies. So again, as Toyota was trying to lean their value stream process in producing their automobiles, they identified that anything that removes barriers to access to information, to communication and collaboration are things that they needed to address. And so they created this team space with information on all the elements of the work being done on a particular project so that people within the organization, again, the CEO could walk in the room and look at the board and know exactly what's being done that day, know exactly what the team is focused on, knows exactly what's going to come next. So it's a way of communicating throughout the organization what's important so that everyone can contribute to helping the organization accelerate its value delivery and to make sure that they're meeting the needs of the customer.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Please tell me, what did you call that room? Because at the foundation, we call ours the war room. So what did you call the room?
Obeya, O-B-E-Y-A.
O-B-E-Y-A, Obeya
yes,
room.
Obeya room. Yes, if you
interesting.
Google that, you will find some very interesting examples.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen. I'm sure
Thank
that
you.
answers the question. So the next question is for Sunil again. And one of the viewers asked, risk and uncertainty in these times are the new normal and can often be a major hindrance to project flow. What advice would you give an African SME on how to handle these uncertain times and the risk they bring in a project timeline?
Yeah, so I think that first of all, it is uncertain times. I'll certainly concur with that. I think but for a small startup or organization, the more certainty there is in delivery, the better it is for them because there's less inefficiencies and you can automate and systemize and codify your business. The thing is, if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting a business, it's very difficult to start to create repeatability as an entrepreneur, as a small startup, because you're going to be trialing new things. You're going to be looking at new things. You'll be making promises that you're going to have to tweak afterwards to be practical about the whole thing. If you've got a regimented output that you're going to be preparing, I don't know, maybe you're making doors for the side of cars, then there's only one shape and size, for that car. You can automate all of that. So you don't need a whole, it's pretty predictable what you're going to have as an outcome. But if you're providing a service or you're doing something that's new, that's differentiated because you're a new startup and therefore a new unique idea, then you need to recognize that this uncertainty is going to be significant for you. And I think the good news is that a lot of organizations and a lot of people in the world now recognize there's a lot of uncertainty. So that helps you a little bit. But of course, if you can minimize the amount of uncertainty, if you can optimize your predictability, then that you're in a better differentiated position. It's very tough to do that. A lot of projects have been put on hold because of COVID. And then you're going to see then as the world starts to unlock itself, those projects are going to be on like the fast track because, they were put on hold for so long, nobody can work. So you're going to see a huge uplift in programs, I'm sure, as the world starts to stand itself back up again. The other thing you're going to see is that organizations are going to say, hey, we can't let this happen to us again. So if there's another wave or a third wave or a fourth or something else comes, we need to be able to respond at the speed of light to that. We can't fall over at the first step like what happened now. So I think organizations were caught by surprise. If you're a business as a small startup, make sure you don't get caught out by the next one. And how do you do that? You make sure that you've got robustness in your infrastructure. You make sure you've got robustness in your idea, and you have a definitive position of differentiation against your competition. If you do that, you will definitely see that people are empathetic of the situation that the whole world finds itself in today. If you have to delay your program because of something that's happened that's out there that you could not predict, then I think a lot of organizations are going to turn around and say that's fair enough because they themselves are in that same situation, right? So I think that, of course, you need to have some degree of regimentation. Don't lose your creativity. Don't let that take away your creativity. Don't let that take away your nimbleness, your ability to move at pace, your ability to be able to pivot and be gymnastic mentally as well as physically. Thank you.
I like to call it mental acrobatics.
Absolutely.
So just a follow-on question for you before I move to Stephen. So an entrepreneur wants to know, will PMI mentors employ project management tools in the mentoring of their mentees? And this is a great opportunity for you to talk a little bit about that part of our partnership.
Yes, so, you know, we have a huge community of people. I was thinking about, you know, if you were going to mentor somebody who's in a startup or an entrepreneur business, there are a lot of different skill sets that you can bring to the table, be it by industry. So imagine having a mentor who's a specialized, if you're in the telco sector, having a mentor who's, you know, we deal in, you know, we have hundreds of thousands of people who are project managers in the telco sector or in the healthcare sector or in the infrastructure sector or in the construction center. So by industry is a great way of having a mentorship. And of course, there are certain tools that people use in those particular industries. You know, if you're in the construction industry, you're using a set of tools that will help you in you know, CAD systems and whatnot. So of course, you know, there'll be some knowledge in that. Then you can go by competency, mentorship by competency. I know I used to be an entrepreneur myself, and you know, you don't have all the skills. It's impossible to have all the skills. You rely on other people. You know, luckily I was a finance guy, but I wasn't an operational guy, but I was a strong finance guy. But then where did I get the operational skills from? I had to rely on mentors to help me, to coach me in how I can get the operational skills. So the other way is through competency. You know, through PMI, we can bring competencies, people who are specialized in a specific area. Also by region. If you're going to have a global company and you want to have networks and relationships in China, in Latin America, in India, in Europe, you know, you can use our mentorship people in those countries to mentor you about the culture, the environment in there, by function, by segmentation, etc. So that's one thing. And the community is massive. So you imagine, you may not have just one mentor. We might structure this in a way that says, hey, you know, during your journey, today you're going to need a mentor around competency. Tomorrow,
Awesome.
we'll get you someone else who can talk to you about your technical, whether your product is going to make sense in the telco sector. You're going up against a lot of competition. What am I going to need? Are you really that differentiated? These are great challenges from people who are experts in that sector. So that's the first thing. So of course, we're going to use our tools, Kanban, Agile, Discipline Agile, you know, citizen developer, all the traditional methods. That's a prerequisite. That's a given. What you really, from a mentor, you will get is the experience, the knowledge, you know, and the competency in specific areas. And I think that's how I see the partnership evolving.
Thank you so much, Sunil. So I'm very, very mindful of the time. So I'm going to go over to Otema, the MD for Africa. You facilitated all this, Otema. I remember our very first meeting late last year at Harris Holding, and that's when this all got started. So how do you see, the question I'm going to put to you is, how do you see youth and entrepreneurs developing across Africa, leveraging project management skills? And then maybe you can now just wrap it all up for us.
Okay.
Thanks, Otema.
Thanks so much, Ifema. I really see that project management skills help youth to kind of manage the risk of entrepreneurship, right? So that you heard about those power skills, those you can embed in your business and help to drive the kind of impact that you want to see in your business. So I think this program that we're going to do is going to be amazing, and I am super excited about it. In addition to the actual sessions, I think at each session, we plan to have some expert entrepreneurs come and speak to you about their journey as well. So when you're thinking about putting your money where your strategy is in session 2 and the primers on risk in section 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, I think the value too is hearing about those stories, what worked and what didn't work. And we're going to bring those mentors and experts to the table so that you can ask those questions, so that you can learn both the theory, right, and then from a real life experience. And I think what's also really important is to feel a sense of accomplishment, and we will be offering that certificate of learning at the end. So if you're listening, please register and remember to be at every single session in order to get your certificate. And I want to talk about another thing, if you can move to the next slide. And that's about the fact that we're having our virtual PMI Africa conference. And at this conference, you'll be able to hear a bit more about what we do in PMI Africa. And you'll hear about the innovations. You'll get to also build up some of your skills. As I said and I think Sunil mentioned it, we talk about the youth quake in Africa, right? And so we want to be part of that journey of building those skills, whether it's in public skills, in project management skills, et cetera. So we're also going to have a bit of a competition. So look out for that. And as I said, it's a virtual free project management conference on September 6th. And so as I wrap up, I first want to say thank you. Thank you for our participants who have listened in and have started the journey. I want to thank the Tony Lumulu Foundation for beginning this partnership with us. You've done an amazing job, and we look forward to building and growing it. We also want to thank our Nigerian chapter and all the other chapters in Africa who supported this initiative. And I also want to thank my wonderful team, George and Joanna and Steve, and also the team at TEF who've worked tirelessly to put this program together. And I know together we'll be very successful. We have a PMI, a saying that emerged from the last Africa conference, and it says that we are one team, one song, one dance. And we hope to work collectively with you in this wonderful journey. So that's all from me. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Atema. I love that. One team, one song, one dance. And that also is on all fours with our principle at TF, that work is life, work is play. If you're going to be successful at what you do, you must enjoy it. And that's exactly what I see here. So thank you once again to the PMI team. Thank you to the TF team, and thank you to all our entrepreneurs across Africa and all of those who've joined us at this session. Remember, there's 6 sessions. This is the first one. And to be eligible for the learning certificate, you need to register and attend all 6. Thank you once again, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Signing out.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.